Okay. Here we are again. Let me know if you can hear me. Should be working now. I have a little sound meter on my thing. On my thing? On the there's a sound meter on OBS is what I'm trying to say here. Let me know if you can hear me. A little crackled? Oh, that's so annoying. Yeah, I'm low because I think I'm low just because of the distance to the microphone, but I guess I could have it a little bit closer. I got a new like extendo arm microphone stand, and I really like it a lot. It's not actually quite its load bearing is not exactly where it should be. Okay. I guess I'll just have the microphone in my face while I work. Anyway, my microphone is a little bit too heavy for it, but I have managed to make it work, and it's so nice just being just like, oh, it's out of my way. Oh, it's back where it should be for recording and streaming. Oh, look at that. How wonderful. And yeah, my new if you don't I moved, I rearranged my office, so now I'm like tucked in a corner of my room, and I like it so much. Like it's like my little space. It kind of reminds me of when I used to be working in my closet. But not in a bad way, like in the most kind of cozy, comfortable way, because everything's close but not too close, and I've got this little just my own little space with my little microphone stand and my computer, and there you go. In other exciting news, it looks like, so people might be familiar with my recent troubles with Dropbox, especially if you've been listening to my Page a Day podcast, and it looks, I tried Google Drive instead, and it froze my computer whenever I had it syncing. But I have tried it again. I upgraded my storage, and I've been moving folders into it a piece at a time, and now I have all of my like super most important folders in there, and it seems to be working great. So Google Drive might be the final solution that handles my online syncing issues. So, yay, happy dance. All right. So now, here's where we're at. We've got a good outline here. We've got our first act. We're pretty happy with our first act. We're pretty happy with our ending. And we've got good stuff in our second act, but we need to connect the end of the second act to the third act, and I feel like we need a little bit more breathing room, so to speak, sort of in the beginning of the second act. There's a one of my favorite writing books. It's written for screenwriters, but it's really, really good for authors as well, is Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. And he talks about in the break into Act 2, right? So you got your break into Act 2. He says, I also think that the start of the B story, the secondary story that's going on parallel to your main story, I also think that the start of the B story that takes place around page 30 is a little booster rocket, page 30 of a script, not a book, is a little booster rocket that helps smooth over the shockingly obvious A story act break. Think about it. You've set up the A story, you've put it into motion. Now we've had this abrupt jump into Act 2, and you've landed in a whole new world. The B story says, enough already. How about talking about something else? Which is why the cutaway is usually in line with the A story, but new in scope. The B story gives us a breather, and then he gives an example from Legally Blonde, which he references a lot in this book, which is great to me because I love the movie Legally Blonde, and like people are like, "Oh, it's so dumb." It's like, no, it's not. It's awesome. The B story is also very often a brand new bunch of characters. We have not always met the B story players in the first 10 pages of the screenplay. We did not even know they existed. But since Act 2 is the antithesis, they are the upside down versions of those characters who inhabit the world of Act 1. Etc., etc., and then he goes on. I like the idea of a breather because pacing and rhythm is just so important in writing books and storytelling in general. It's more important in films, I would say, but it's also really important in books. Like, in books, your reader can give themselves a breather, right? Like, they can just stop reading for a couple of hours or pick it back up the next day or whatever. And in a film, you can't do that. You have to give them an opportunity to sort of like rest from the hectic pace. But I like and try to cultivate readers who read a book straight through, just like I generally try to do. So if you can give them a little breathing room after the break into Act 2, that's a good thing. So our B story is kind of focuses on Dasko. Dasko, this instructor who was briefly mentioned in book 1, The Alchemist's Touch, but now is a more active character in the Academy journals. And again, not that we're directly paralleling everything that that Harry Potter is doing, but if Dasko were a character from Harry Potter, he would be some weird combination of Sirius and Lupin, a sort of generally friendly father figure who appears and just is like supportive of Eben, even though he can't really be involved in everything Eben's doing, so to speak. So I think that in sort of like the extra stuff that we're going to introduce to give breathing room, that B story of Dasko and Gia and the new instructor Perrin, that's where we're going to get those resting moments, so to speak. So there you go. Hello, Feral Drew Boy. Best or worst name ever. It's hard to say, or it could be both. King Louis Stevens. That's awesome. Yes, that's what I do. I write books on stream. Yeah, I do. I do all my books live on stream. I do the outlining process, the first draft, editing, formatting it for ebook and print, the whole deal. Oh, awesome. Do it to it. Get them books out there. Awesome. Cool. I started writing when I was a teenager, but I published my first book in 2012 after trying to make it as a filmmaker for a while. That's a very hard industry to get into. So I started writing instead with the intention of turning my books back into movies one day. And really started taking off about last year. So now it's my full-time job. It pays the bills. Yes, I am a fantasy guy. Fantasy and sci-fi, but I'm not really going to be able to write and publish any sci-fi books until next year. I have too tight of a schedule for the rest of 2016. Which sci-fi book are you talking about? What is it? Slaughterhouse Five? He's a good writer. Sirens of Titan. Never heard of that. But if it's Vonnegut, he's good. I am using the snowflake method. Yes, indeed. It is not anything to do with cocaine. It's a writing method where basically you start with your entire book summarized into one sentence, and then you unpack that sentence and unpack it until you have, basically until you have a book. It's an outlining method, basically. You have a pretty good face, Rob. Is that the first time anyone said that to you? Oh! Kidding. Yeah, you got to write. I mean, that's the number one most important thing. But there's a few books you should definitely read. You should read On Writing by Stephen King. You should read Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. Again, that's a book that's written for screenwriters, but it's really, really good for authors as well. It gives you some ideas of structure and how to go about doing a book. You should listen to the Self-Publishing Podcast. You should probably listen to the Creative Pen Podcast, because those are shows about self-publishing, but they do have lots of episodes focused on the writing. Oh, hi. Hey, Dare. What's up, dude? But yeah, read a lot and write a lot. They definitely help make you a better... Those two things help make you a better writer. And also, like, one of the most important things, especially when you're working on your first book, is, like, your first book's just... It's just probably not going to be that great. Keep working, you know? Like you can fix a... If you write a first draft of a book and it's not good, you can fix that. You can edit it until it is good. But if you're worried about it being great while you're writing it, you probably won't ever finish it. So just like get your first draft done and then edit and edit and edit. Dave! Demon Tomato Dave! Welcome. Ooh, writing excuses. Yeah. 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 I tried writing excuses. I might have joined it at a really bad time, because when I started listening to writing excuses, they were talking about agents and publishers. And, like, they just made agents and publishers sound like the best and most wonderful people in the world and a gift to writers. And some agents and publishers definitely are. There's publishers out there doing really great work. But, like, I'm so... disillusioned with the publishing industry in general that it really kind of turned me off. And then they started their new season and they were talking about like elemental genre, but I feel like everything they talk about on writing excuses, they fit it into the framework of the traditional publishing industry. So I just didn't feel like it had a lot for me. But it's probably still a good... I mean, it's Brandon Sanderson, you know, he's like a super prolific and definitely very good fantasy author. So not super keen. WC Studio, hey, hope you got that Dropbox link. Yeah. Yeah, I listened to writing excuses for like a month and a half, and then I was just sort of Also, and this is gonna sound super hypocritical from me, but I don't like Brandon Sanderson's voice. He I don't know, that's like the worst thing, but like I can't spend a whole lot of time listening to a podcast where, like, you know, the voice just aggravates me a little bit. I don't know. That's so bad to say. I'm like, you know, that's not like a thing. It's just, keeps me from, listening to the podcast. Like even my favorite podcast, the self-publishing podcast, which I listen to every single episode and whatever. When they have a guest on and that guest doesn't have an actual microphone or has a shitty internet connection and they sound like crap, I can't listen to the episode. I just can't do it. You poop, Feral Jew Boy. You go poop. Yeah. Mary Duke, good morning. I wasn't going to say it, but yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it felt nice to get a haircut finally. I do this thing where I don't get my haircut and then like for 4 months and then I'm just like, "Oh my god, get it off my head." I should try and keep myself better trimmed. I like looking like this, like I care how I look. Like I care about my appearance at all. That's how I like to look. My 10th book comes out tomorrow, not including novellas and short stories. Oh yeah, on my Twitch page, by the way, you should be able to find a link. Let's see. Yeah, so on my on the Twitch page, if you're watching it on desktop or maybe on mobile, below the video and the info panels, there should be a link that says "Get the book," and you can get a free ebook copy of Nightblade, which is my first book in this world that I'm writing right now. It's the best place to start if you want to check any of it out. Why do you suck? It's not a bad thing that the release date tomorrow, and if it is a bad thing, it's definitely not your fault. Oh, you still can't review it. I still have to finish the print formatting, which I'm going to do probably this evening. Probably. You physically cannot leave a review right now, so it's like, no big deal. Also, LOL, Rob. Rafflemau, as I like to say. What did I sing? I don't. What did I do? The timers for when I'm writing a first draft. I write I write for an hour at a time, and then I take like a 10 to 15 minute break. Yeah, I've figured out a few little tricks to make my videos faster. Like my camera stays in the exact same place all the time, every time. It's right there next to my desk. That's where it is. That's where it stays. It's always there. So I sit down, I figure out what I want to say, and I either bullet point it or write a full script, and then I just turn the camera on and go. Have I ever been sued for libel? No, since I don't write nonfiction. No wizard has ever come forth and said that my representation of him in the world of Underrealm was horribly libelous. I do make videos very much similar to the Vlogbrothers. It's true. I won't even deny it. No, I have. This book that I'm working on right now is the sixth book in the world. Second book in the series. This is the 6th book in the world. There's only 6 of them. Oh, have I written anything set in this world? I did, actually. This one right here. It's called Rebel Yell. It's about an indie rock band in Los Angeles. And this one, Touch Trilogy, also set in Los Angeles. And finally, Hit Girls, set in between Los Angeles and Texas. Oh, and then I just realized that actually my Realm Keeper series switches back and forth between the real world and a magical world. So I guess actually 5 out of my 10 books are at least partially set in the real world, but they're not about real people. Um, my mood doesn't. I don't know. Like I I generally find it like reasonably easy to sort of control my mood and emotions and whatnot. Um, I I don't. I mean, yeah. The simple answer is no. I don't. I don't generally have. I don't generally have that problem. Every once in a while, uh, and just because it's so rare, every once in a while it happens, and I just don't write that day. I just take the day off. Like, uh, great. Here we go. The day that Alan Rickman died, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything the whole day. I was just, I was like, I just kind of couldn't work, you know, because that made me very sad, and so I just didn't work that day. Uh, in terms of just like not being like in the mood to write, that doesn't really. I don't. And I'm not trying to put anybody else down, but I don't believe in not being in the mood or being in the mood to write. I think that if you're a writer, you just write, um, and it goes to if you can't, like, you just kind of have to get it out there. You have to get your first draft done, right? You have to get the words down, because you can edit a bad book to being good, but you can't edit a stack of blank paper. Why? Why? Sometimes Scrivener makes no sense. Yeah, you can also do like little like training tricks to to trick your mind. I listen to Rise Against when I write. A lot of you guys probably know that, and I always start on the same song. It's Gethsemane by Rise Against. It's a very active driving song, but also by this point it's such a mental training thing that when that song comes on, I just start writing. And it's it's fucking Pavlovian conditioning. Um, because every time I start writing, I play that song. So now every time I play that song, I start writing. You get what I mean? Like trick the shit out of yourself. Don't, you know, just do it. Just do it. Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to take a break because my lease is up on my coffee, and also I'm just going to step outside really quick. I will be back in a few minutes. And we're back. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Cool. Just made it in the book. Yeah, water to wine is actually going to be a thing, but it's like sixth year or something like that. Like that's maybe fifth year. That's like relatively advanced. Behold, I have turned water to wine. Yeah, that's like relatively advanced. uh, And what's funny is I totally picture that in like an old Jewish grandmother voice, which is actually appropriate because she was Jewish, as they all were. You can do all these things. You can open a catering service, make a little money. I mean, being a priest is nice, but maybe you should consider getting a real job. What do I know? I'm just your mother. Oh, you live in Toronto. Oh, you don't live in Toronto. That awkward moment when. Oh, you live in London. Awesome. It depends on your fantasy. It depends on your fantasy. Um, my first fantasy series in this world, Nightblade, had no real sexual content at all, and then in the fourth book the main character gets involved with a guy, but uh, the the scene is not, there's nothing it's a very lightly touched on scene, like they start to get into it, and then you like fade to black. This series has a lot more sexual content, because that's one of the themes that this series is exploring, is sex and relationships, and how sex fits into relationships, and how important it is to relationships, and different ways to manage it, and different people's needs, and all that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I mean, it's I'm still not writing like erotica sex scenes, right? But he has a relationship with a girl, and they do the do, you know. I'm not talking about I'm not describing any protrusions or any fluids. Uh there's no gasping, there's no moaning. They do the do, as I often say in my outlining. I actually haven't read Kerouac. I want to pick up some of his titles. I've read pieces by him, but never a book. Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, you're very right about that, Dare. And my view on it is that you don't need you don't need to describe heartache, self doubt, and longing. Um, like, don't spend a paragraph talking about how your character feels heartache, self doubt, and longing. Set it up in your story so that the reader feels it. Actually, one of the I don't have it on my shelf. One of the best examples of this that I've read recently is Looking for Alaska. That has got it all. It's got heartache, self doubt, and longing. You talk about longing and heartache. Oh my God, I would like, ooh boy, just like real emotional. Looking for Alaska by John Green. It's a YA lit, right? Like it's literary. It's not fantasy or sci-fi or anything like that. And just it hurts. That book physically hurts. And he doesn't spend long paragraphs or pages talking about how the character is feeling a certain way. He just puts the character in situations where the character feels that way, and because the situations are so well constructed and the book is so well written, you feel it, man. It hurts like a lot. It's a painful book to read. That is the perfect way to put it. Looking for Alaska was also awesome because I tweeted about it while I was reading it, at like I was tweeting at John Green, and he actually responded, which was cool, and he seemed to quite enjoy my anguish as I read the book. Yeah, it was. I mean, I was pooping myself. Yeah, Paper Towns is another good example. I would say that it's not as painful as Looking for Alaska, but like the end of that book is like, oh, ooh, mmm.
Oh, looking for Alaska. Actually, here. There's the whole interaction. Ugh. Yeah, he's like a massively popular best-selling author who puts out a book and sits on top of the New York Times. And he's got a fantastic YouTube channel, which anybody who wants to do YouTube should learn a lot of lessons from. Him and his brother. By the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this often enough, but I interviewed Hank Green for a podcast last week. It was awesome. It was amazing. Should be coming out sometime in late February.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it was an amazing conversation. I've listened back to it twice since, and just like that's the longest format I've ever heard Hank talk about anything seriously. Like he has the Dear Hank and John podcast, but he doesn't normally. It's not. That's a comedy podcast about death, but it is a comedy podcast, and so getting to talk to him for like 45 minutes about serious things, you know, was just oof, so amazing. It's for a podcast called Eight Questions, and I am one of four people who host it. Like me and Sean and Johnny and Dave find cool, successful, interesting artists and interview them, and then the episodes get scheduled out a week apart, a week at a time. So we just already have episodes lasting all the way until the end of February. No, we don't talk about politics. We talk about art. Like how did you make it? What is important to you about art? What do you think is a reason for your success? How can other people emulate it? That sort of thing. If you just look up the podcast Eight Questions, you can give it a listen and you get the idea of the format pretty quick. Hey, Bookfish. Doing pretty good. How you doing? Feeling tired this morning. It might just be because I'm hungry. I didn't have breakfast again. Huge fucking mistake. I like breakfast. It's just like I don't like a token breakfast, you know? Like every once in a while I'll have a bowl of cereal for breakfast cuz I feel like a bowl of cereal that morning, but in general I want an egg and some fucking bacon, you know? And that just takes time. It's like, I want the result, but I don't want to do the work to get there. You know, like most people view a writing career. Oh! Oh boy. Okay, so now let's look at our break from Act 2 into Act 3. Did I actually write these words? Eben's never seen someone killed before? Wildly inaccurate. He fucking killed somebody. I swear to God, Kristen, that's exactly how I feel. And that, I mean, that's not, you know, that's like, that's a lazy viewpoint, but that's how I feel. I get the idea and I'm just like, oh my God, I want the book to be, I want this book. But then I just want the book. I want to be holding it in my hands. I don't want to work for it. And I really respect and admire people who are like, I love the work. I'm like, after I have the idea, I want it to be done and I want to be on the next thing. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't want, yeah, I don't know. Oh, you noticed that? Well, here's the thing. I kind of want to work in stages, right? So I come up with the idea for the book and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing." But then I have to outline it. And oh, outlining is so work. It's such work. It's so like I mean, I know that's like shitty like complaining about, you know, I get to write books for a living and like I shouldn't complain about that. And like I'm not complaining about my life. I'm just saying like that aspect of it I don't particularly enjoy or love very much. But then when the outline is done, I'm at the point when my outline is done, when I'm itching to write the book. And then writing the first draft is fun. I love the first draft. I'm just let's get it done. Let's da 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 da. And then once the first draft is done, such work. Wow. Doge. Once the first draft is done, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't want to edit it. Editing again is work. Like correcting, basically having the like doing the thing is the fun part. Making the thing good is the part that feels like work to me. So doing the thing, having the idea for the book, that's fun. Making that idea good, i.e. outlining it, that sucks. So, you know, that's where I'm at, basically. And then again, doing the thing, writing the book, super fun. Making the thing good, editing the book, not so much. All right, thanks for coming by, Bookfish. Good to see you. Yeah, I don't particularly struggle with that. That's really good advice, Kristen. Here's another way. Here's my mindset on it, and I don't know. This isn't. I don't know how to turn this into advice, but maybe you can pull advice out of it, right? If your characters are really good, you should feel like they're friends. You should friends of yours. You should feel like they are friends of yours, right? So when you're doing your outline, okay, you're outlining, you are telling yourself about all these awesome things your friends have been doing. And then, you know, Eben went over here and he did this thing. How cool was that? And then he went over there and he did that thing. It was like super amazing and awesome. And if you're telling yourself that story about your friends abstractly in the third person, and you're sitting there being an audience to it as well, you're like, oh my gosh, oh, that sounds cool. Oh, that sounds really cool. Oh, that sounds amazing. Then when you get to writing your first draft, you get to go see it all happen in first person. So if you like your characters and you like spending time with your characters, if you picture outlining like talking about all the cool stuff your friends have been doing, writing the first draft should be like finally getting to go and hang out with your friends in person rather than just reading their posts on Facebook, for example. Ah, but Harris is awesome. Like, he's just cool. Like, you want to spend time with him. That's why he's a great character. Maybe you don't. Well, Hemingway would be proud. Yes, that's my kids in the background. Oh, Jesus, yes. Hemingway was like hardcore alcoholic. Hemingway, not actually a great person, as it turns out. Okay. So, we have less chapters these days in the Underrealm books. Now, sometimes that's because the book is a little bit shorter. Shadeborn was a little bit shorter than the earlier Nightblade books. The Alchemist's Touch was shorter than most of the Nightblade books, but longer than Shadeborn, I think. And, but with this book, I have a feeling that the chapters are going to be much longer, like significantly longer than previous than previous books in Underrealm. So this book has 28 chapters plus the epilogue, making it 29, but the epilogue is usually only like 500 to 800 words. So even though we have less chapters, we have 28 chapters in this book. I'm okay with that because some of these chapters, I think that the average length for these chapters is going to be between like 3,000 and 3,500 words. So that's significant, right? And if we had 3,000 words per chapter for 28 chapters, that would be an 85,000 word book, which is about Nightblade length. If they are 3,500, then we're going to have a book that's almost 100,000 words. Word count shouldn't be your determining factor on the length of your story, but it should be a sort of guideline that you try to hit, because in this series, it's a series of adventures with each character, and if you can probably, you want to give your reader like a familiar reading experience, right? It's going to be like this adventure, then that adventure. If your book lengthens immensely, you're probably trying to cram too much into one book, or at least that's how I feel about these books. There are interactions and developments that can be stretched out, pushed into the next book. Whereas similarly, if your book is like way too short, then you probably aren't giving your characters enough time to develop, and you're probably not giving your reader enough time to breathe. So, even though we are under the normal chapter length for an Underrealm book, because the chapters are going to be longer, I'm pretty fine with the outline being the way that it is. So with that, and with the thing that I mentioned earlier where I didn't have breakfast this morning and I'm starving, and with the fact that I have my phone call with Sean in 1 hour, I'm going to stop the stream at this point. And I'm going to try and stream again in the afternoon. No, as always, no guarantees, but I am going to try and get back because we want to finish this book very quickly. So we're gonna get back to it and continue with the first draft when we return. So thank you so very much for tuning in. I'm just gonna drag all this stuff up in here. Thank you so much for tuning in, hanging out. Really appreciate everybody coming to visit. It's been really great. It's been really great hanging with everybody, and I'm really like glad to see like new people coming in and everything. It just makes me happy and whatnot. So thank you. And I will hopefully see you later this afternoon if you can make it. If not, no big deal. Don't worry about it. Let's just finish arranging this and then we'll... There we go. Yeah, done outline. Gonna come back and be ready to keep going. Okay, thanks so much. Catch you another time. Bye!